Okay, everyone, we would like to get started, so if you could grab a seat, that would be great. Yeah, we're starting now. Yeah, let's start. Everyone.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Mic check. Back there. Can you hear me? Awesome. Perfect. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us tonight, and I'm excited to be co-moderating today's session, or this second session, with our guests over here. We have Vernon Keenan, who is an esteemed DevOps expert in the world of Salesforce and amongst a few other things, alongside a Salesforce product leader, notably in the Agent Force space. And then we have Toku, who is co-moderating this session with me. Today we'll be looking into how AI is reshaping the world of professional services. We'll be looking at a practical take of what that looks like and how that will be institutionalized over the coming months and years with the evolution of AI. So that being said, I'll ask our esteemed panelists and our co-host to give a quick introduction.
Oh, yeah. Hi, I'm Vernon Keenan. I'm an enterprise AI analyst. I'm specialized in the Salesforce ecosystem, and I service companies like Salesforce and small startups.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Manjit Singh. I'm branding myself these days as the fittest AI product manager, and let me break it down for you. So I'm a product lead. I work on AI. I've been doing it for a long time. Building Agent Force right now. Done the same thing in the last few years with ServiceNow and a couple of other companies. And when I'm not working, I'm a fitness coach. I train people. I help many types of pain go away from the body. So that's why I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
And hi, I'm Toku. I'm the co-founder and COO, CTO of Qlay. I'm also the product lead. So we're in the HR tech space. We're building an AI automated engineer hiring platform. And we're also right now working with a global construction company to kind of expand into hiring construction workers.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for the introduction. I'll just jump right in. So, a lot of us have heard the term software as a service, but we're now talking about service as a software. So this first question will essentially present an opportunity. We have a lot of consulting firms, legal firms, mainly organizations that are people heavy, exploring opportunities to bring efficiency within their organizations. Obviously with the emergence of enterprise platforms and tools, folks use ChatGPT, Perplexity in their personal lives, but breaking those down and taking them step by step into organizations is the next layer. So the question I present to our panelists here, service as a software. It's an emerging novel idea. What does it mean for you?
Well, service as a software represents roughly the labor that it takes to operate software. So if you were to, like I measured it recently, if you look at the Salesforce DevOps sector, and these are companies like Gearset, Capato, other companies like that, none of them, if you add up all their revenue, they make about $200 million a year. That's the total size of that market. But I recently tried to size what I thought was the consulting and the labor market that goes with operating that software that I thought could be targeted by AI. And that came out to billions, like 3.6 billion. So I'm getting this 10x, 20x feeling that if you look at a market that is sized in a particular way, like Salesforce, for example, is a $38 billion company, then you got to wonder about all the services and the people and the labor that goes along with that. And that's a lot. And we think that many skills within that area can be commoditized now. So that you could take a skill like requirements analysis or things that Cloobot is doing, for example, and other types of cognitive skills that came from consultants that used to be kind of like a rarefied quantity. You know, like you had to pay that McKinsey guy $2,000 an hour to hear his golden speak, you know. And what happens now when you get that $250 an hour guy who's got a chatbot that's as good as that McKinsey guy? So I think what's happening now is we're seeing skills like consultant skills being commoditized into readily accessible skills by other consultants. And what I think is going to happen is that people are going to learn how to find value in that and deliver that value to new customers who before couldn't afford that McKinsey guy, but still needs that level of advice to run his $50 million manufacturing operation in the Midwest. So I think, you know, what we're seeing now is that the value and the you know, the royal nature of these consultancies is going to be attacked and devalued quite heavily over the next few years. I consider them fat targets.
Love it. I mean, just by virtue, thanks for the call out about Qlooboot, but I mean, that's essentially what we're trying to do, right? There's a lot of mundane tasks that are being done in the consulting world, especially in the tech implementation space. And I can probably say and confirm on behalf of a lot of BAs and solution architects, no one likes to document and create requirements and user stories and design documents because they take forever and everybody just wants to build. So, you know, identifying efficiencies within the process definitely creates an opportunity for these AI augmented tools to support humans as they're becoming more efficient and in a way democratizing the accessibility to top-notch services at a much kind of a palatable price point. So Manjit, kind of piggybacking off of that, in the context of just, you know, obviously Salesforce is not just a CRM, there's a lot that goes on in the world of Salesforce, but more broadly speaking in AI, where have you seen in working kind of with partners and even in the ecosystem, even more broadly, ServiceNow and others, where there's real demand and need as it relates to kind of Gen AI and how, you know, speed to market, product market fit in terms of, you know, obviously Agentforce is a relatively new product in the world of Salesforce, and, you know, readiness was something we talked about earlier. Would love to get your take here.
Yeah, sure. I think a couple of observations. So one is what Vern was saying is, say, this enterprise B2B software space is complex, right? You pick any enterprise platform, you'll see is, okay, you need help all along the way to configure it right, to optimize it, to keep it running, to keep the kind of cost down, so on and so forth. And now if you see all these platforms are putting AI on the top, so one way, you know, we say things are getting easier because you have agent, but at the same time, things are getting more complex. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of gaps because, you know, customer maturity level are very different if you look across, you know, of course they're early adopter, but then whereas if you look into the healthcare and banking and others, there's like wide range of kind of those maturity. And if we talk here, let's say as a Salesforce and as an Agentforce and customers are here, there's a big gap. So now who is filling that gap, right? And that's where, you know, the experts comes in. And what I'm seeing is now this whole expertise has to be augmented, you know, of course, you know, human professional services, you know, all the SIs and implementers and all that. But also everybody is augmenting that with agents, discovery agents, right? Implementation agent, testing agents. And there has to be a repeatable playbook so that you can kind of give the right set of tools to the customer. And then the services team use it. And then, so I think it'll be interesting. And what I'm seeing is suddenly the VC community is also become very interested in funding these type of businesses because VC has always like, okay, no, services is more kind of a human, you throw more bodies and that's how the business grow. But now what they are seeing is, that's true, but if they are powered by more agents, you can drive a lot more productivity, you can do a lot more projects. You know, same team, let's say 10 people were able to do 5 projects now. Can they do not 20 projects? Possibly yes. So that's, what I'm seeing is a lot of, I think, interest from VC, and that's good for, I think, the entire ecosystem. Because we do need to make the systems get adopted, get deployed, and gets used. That's good for our ecosystem, like in Salesforce, because we want people to have successful conversation. That's how we get paid. Like if you have chat with our service agent, we get paid whatever, like $2, $3, like different pricing. So I'm very excited actually. I think it's an opportunity, and then that's the way to grow. A lot of people have proved that that model, that right technology augmented by the right set of expertise.
Amazing. Kind of handing it off over to Toku, for the next question.
Yeah. Okay, so let's delve into customer behavior. So traditionally, for service providers, I think the customers would kind of focus on the number of hours spent on the service, when did kind of thinking of, oh, how much should I pay this guy? Maybe in recruitment it's a little different, but consulting and all kinds of services. I guess with all this AI and all that, do you think buyers are now kind of ready to have a different mindset in terms of pricing? For example, there could be outcomes, but maybe just because it's AI and it's done so quickly and only a little bit of a little bit of time spent. And I guess also and how do you think AI is kind of reshaping the buying decisions of these enterprises?
Well, I think that definitely pricing is a big deal. One thing, when people talk about these trillion-dollar markets out there, what they're doing is that they're taking, marketing, for example. Marketing is globally a $2 or $3 trillion industry in terms of labor. And people are saying, oh, well, that's the AI agent market, all the people that can do that, that they're gonna pay all the AI agents exactly what they paid the people over here, and that's total hogwash, of course. I think what's gonna happen is that there's gonna be if you've got an AI agent doing a human job, people are expecting the AI discount right there. So I think that you're gonna be lucky if you can capture more than 50% of that value with your new agent. So I think that is pricing is interesting, because I think there's going to be a downward pressure. Hopefully that is part of the abundance equation that we're all after here with AI. The idea is to make everything cheaper and more abundant so that we can use it more. I mean, that's what happened with telecommunications in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, and now it's ubiquitous, and now we can't imagine living without it, where back then, it was way too expensive, and once it got cheap enough, it got distributed. This is what people call the Jevons paradox, where they predicted that once all of the steam engines in England were being used, the price of coal would collapse because all the steam that was being made was being produced. Kind of like how IBM predicted there would be 4 computers or something like that. Once this is happening with AI right now, once the cost goes down, there's going to be more utility. So I think we're going to have a heavy commoditization of cognitive skills, and they're going to be available for cheap. The trick is going to be how much value can you add to that cheap skill in whatever service that you're offering.
Yeah, I'd like to actually add on top of that, and I think an earlier panelist mentioned that think of an AI agent as a junior team member on your team, and this is really where these efficiencies are really being brought in. I actually interviewed about 15 to 20 consulting firm leaders recently in the last few months, and one of the themes that they've mentioned to me was a lot of potential customers and even their existing customers are asking, obviously with all these AI tools, what are you doing about it? How can we bring our bill rates lower? How can we go from this T&M structure to more fixed bid or more structured outcome-based contracts? Because they're all trying to reap the benefits of AI and artificial intelligence just in the value chain of Salesforce implementations. So as we're kind of, even some of these organizations are using ChatGPT today internally and other pointed solutions to try to augment specific pain points that they have in their processes. But institutionalized AI in the context of professional services is probably going to be more use case and specific and more industry specific. So that's what we're trying to tackle with Cloobot, and how we see there's a massive opportunity, especially in onshore-based talent. I liken this back to the offshore era, right? 30 years ago when we started to have offshore delivery teams to augment software implementation. And what did that do? That brought down the blended bill rates, made the price of implementing large-scale solutions much lower. But unfortunately, you can't do that with client-facing roles, and that's where AI is going to be, bringing in some of those savings. So when we look at the triangle that we always talk to our customers about, you want quality, you want speed, and you want price. I think with the emergence of Gen AI and some of these tools, like what Cloobot is trying to achieve, is we're going to find that center point where you can probably achieve very close of all three at a pretty reasonable price just by the subsidies of AI.
Yes.
And I'll make a quick hot take here. I truly believe we'll have a AI-first consulting firm with 10 employees that will probably produce better outputs and deliver more projects than a traditional consulting firm with 100 people. So we'll see if that ends up panning out, but I think that will be the case.
I'm backing that prediction. I think the typical consultant there is going to be the ex-Accenture guy, the ex-McKinsey guy who is in his early 30s going, I can do much, much better with all these tools out there than what these guys are doing. Then he's going to go back to the customer he was servicing before with his 10-person team and say, okay, I've got a 12-month plan how to do that stupid Accenture 3-year plan. So who are you going to hire? And I think that it's the classic innovator's dilemma to the nth degree here. It's like these consulting companies have to realize what's happening. I mean, they're getting the feedback right now from their customers. I find that a fascinating comment. Yeah. And so that they're going to figure out ways to do it to themselves, or there will be other people doing it to them. That's my view.
I actually used to be a consultant at Deloitte before this startup.
Me too.
And my co-founder used to be a consultant at McKinsey, and kind of like seeing what all AI can do these days. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous how it does like what I used to do like so much faster and better. Yeah.
I love that. So Toku, bringing it back to recruiting, this isn't going to be one of those cases where AI takes over the world or the consulting world. Tell us where you see, and maybe we start with the question that you have around kind of recruiting and kind of where do we find the synergies between what you're working on and how these AI agents will collaborate and really bring in some of those efficiencies for organizations that are trying to grow headcount, but also manage that growth with AI agents as well.
Yeah, so I guess since we're in recruiting, our main value proposition is to kind of cut down on the time that people have to spend screening candidates. In our case, we primarily focus on engineering candidates because assessing technical skills is pretty straightforward. However, there has been a couple of college interns from Japan working here for Digital Garage, and they're college seniors and they're kind of doing their job search. And I watched them actually go through this new grad recruitment AI interview series. So one case was basically the AI kind of asking and she had to answer each question. The other case was Japanese companies like to have like a group of applicants together and just have them do like an open discussion just to see like who's proactive and stuff like that. But nowadays, like they're just throwing in like an AI, like sort of like a meeting note taker / moderator, and then just having just the students kind of talk amongst themselves on Zoom without any employee being part of it. And so this type of like new grad recruitment is more, not really like assessing technical skills, but it's more like a personality, cultural fit into the company. So then I guess that brings the question, I guess, I don't know if like at Salesforce you use any type of AI recruitment, but I guess what is your view on this like human to kind of like automating this, what used to be like a human to human kind of interaction and understanding, fit to now this this automated version?
Yeah. So I think that's such a great question. The way I see is, one is, let's say to answer your question directly, do we use AI in our hiring process? The answer is yes, but I would say it's not to the level where AI agent is taking the interview. But we have our kind of sales product. That's where we use kind of the same sort of like, hey, our sellers talk to the AI coach and then prep for, let's say, a customer meeting, right? So I would say those use cases are more common, and that's what our customers are asking, and we have built a couple of agents around that. We call it kind of sales coach as an example. But I'm personally very optimistic and very bullish about, because see, now these models are multi-model. They can handle all the interruptions. When you talk to them, they feel very natural. The personalization is coming along. The more you talk to them, the more they understand you, right? And then over a period of time, then they're literally like taking your, like the example from kind of Japan and the culture. If you talk to these AI enough, it can really bring that personalization, because OpenAI added a memory layer and all the others. So I think the part where I'm kind of going into is that AI is definitely going to transform hiring. It's a very human touch sort of hiring is, right? So personal. But the point is like, okay, you can keep the human in the loop, but then what are other steps you can automate, right? Reach out to candidate and then follow up, scheduling the interview and all. That itself you can so much kind of save, and I'm guessing that's what you guys are kind of doing. Look, plot out the entire workflow end-to-end hiring. There's like 20 steps. Okay, can we automate 15 of them and bring human in the 5 of them where there is really the, let's say the last round, or specifically in the technical role. I do agree. I mean, I came from engineering background and used lead code and others and prep. It's the same question set of, right, to evaluate. So in some roles, 100% yes.
All right,
cool. I have one more question. It's a two-part question, one for each of our panelists. So Manjit, as you know, in a product capacity and as you're kind of evaluating what are the use cases, how are you challenging customers to really, push the boundaries around how can they leverage AI within, again, in the confines of their org? Because, again, not just consulting, professional services isn't just consulting, right? You have large teams internally, and you mentioned the example of sales coaching as one option, but like, just in a traditional organization, and as you're trying to refine, what do the customers really want? How do you balance that with, does the customer really know what they want?
No.
Yeah. Most of the time, I think that no, but one good thing happening about AI is, what I'm noticing is, most of the customer that I talk to, they have a wish list of use cases, because within their internal team, or maybe their CEO pressure or board pressure, they have done that, created a spreadsheet like, hey, here are the use cases in our domain we should kind of apply. Are those good use cases? Maybe 90% no. And that's where we are kind of, the little bit of joint discovery, right? Because when you think about Agent Force, I'm like, hey, what's your agent readiness score, right? What's, where your data is, what platform are you using, and then does it make sense, or even your, let's say, have you even configured your Salesforce the right way before you throw agents on the top? But the way I think that, typically Salesforce is, we show one is art of the possible, right? We have this Salesforce Innovation Centers, and then really show the vision to customer, like Dreamforce. I don't know if any of you have attended our Dreamforce conference. That's what we basically, show the art of possible. And then the reality. So grounding ourselves into which use cases are really production ready today. And then we have a couple of them, like the service agent is doing great, and then with specifically the voice agent capability, a lot of customers are adopting it, and great momentum. And then sales coach examples and others. So I think it's a balancing act. I think, and then we have a lot of very large customer base, so we have this feedback loop from customers. Good feedback, bad feedback, and then as a PM, I have to, sometimes the feedback is so bad, I'm like, okay, let's soak that in and translate into how do we convert that into more positive side.
Awesome. I'm actually looking forward to the Agent Force use cases around the setup and admin portion of the org. I know there's a lot of hype and a lot of real stuff happening behind the scenes, but waiting to kind of see how it all comes together. will be very interesting. So Vernon, that gets me to kind of the part 2 of this question, and that is, you and I have talked a lot about this agent-to-agent interaction. Right now, there's a human feedback loop, and that's always going to be there. But in a world where, you have different agents across different platforms supporting the value chain of whatever process it is, where do you see that going? Do you see that similar to integrations of the past and how systems talk, or how electric car chargers, ports work? What's the standard going to look like?
Well, there's a lot of activity in this area right now, by the way. So Google just put out something called agent to agent. Salesforce happens to be part of that group. And it is a set of protocols and a way for different agents to work together. IBM has something called BAI, and that is a way that you could take Crew and the different popular agent frameworks that are out there right now and get those agents to work together. So that's interesting. Folks like LangGraph, Crew, and others have got multi-agent systems and protocols for them to work together. So I think this is a very active area. I also think that, Salesforce has talked about it with their agent, we got Agent Exchange, and what goes along with their App Exchange. So I think platforms like that are going to be super important in the future, where agents maybe can go hire other agents to help them do their job, or things of that nature. I told Mark Benioff that he needs to create a digital worker cloud. So I don't know if that'll happen, but that seems like the next logical step. That you have actually ServiceNow is doing the most work in this area right now in terms of multi-agent systems working together. So they have a new kind of discovery technology going on for that, and agent registry, I think they call it. And then Workday is also working on this as well, using all of their knowledge about HR and creating agent descriptions based on roles. So I think that's actually where we're going next with agents in general, before we can get them to work together actually, is that they have to understand their roles within an organization. It's just more than a collection of tasks. So I think in general, I love to talk about agents and everything, but I think it's good to remind people that they don't work yet. That we're in what you call the classic technology J-curve adoption cycle, which means that you're investing a lot of money and then it's not paying off, and then all of a sudden it pays off. That's what happened with the internet. So I think if you've got conviction about AI, that you think it is a new platform, that you think it is a new way to do computing, that it is going to eventually turn out that way. The reason why I have conviction is because of the commoditization. Just that is such a basic fact that you could now do language translation now for pennies, where it used to take a person to do that. And those skills are happening all over the place. We've been talking about those in consulting right now too. So I think that is an inevitable march of AI, is that fact. So
awesome. I know our last question was going to be around, where do you see this space going in 2 to 5 years? But I feel like might as well just talk about 6 to 12 months. But Vernon, honestly, I think part of what you said kind of aligns on where the future's heading. Anything else you want to add before we head to Manjit?
Oh, just that I'm also concerned about what I call the quiet erosion. So I think that when you have AIs able to do jobs, especially in IT now, that junior people used to be able to do, that we're seeing a quiet erosion in career ladders. Also, if you look at, I've done some econometric studies on this, and the preliminary numbers on the number of jobs that would be created by AI versus the number of jobs that might be destroyed by AI does not look good. It's like 10 to 1, 5 to 1 at least, deficit in terms of the number of AI jobs being created versus other jobs that may be destroyed. So I think that we have, as leaders, we need to realize this, and we need to take it into account, especially if you're running a company. You need to think about bringing in young people and other factors to kind of mitigate some of these negative sociological effects that I see.
Manjit?
Talk about future of 12 months.
I mean, where do you think
Right.
see things are heading? 6 months, 12
Yeah.
months, and so on.
Yeah, no, I think 12 month is max we can predict these days because future is very fast changing and it's hard to predict. We all are incrementally figuring it out. But my take is in kind of this AI and agent world, this multimodality as it's getting better. So like voice capability and then kind of agent. Going back to I think the one theme that we are all picking is if today's AI and agents are, let's say, your interns and your junior level employee. My prediction is before 12 months, it will level up to senior engineer, okay? In some areas, maybe not in kind of all. So now what that means, some of the topics that we talk about, because if this intelligence layer is compounding every 3 months or 6 months, and now let's say the bar has been raised, now what it means, what should be the team size, how we should be organizing the team, going back to the digital labor, what should be the right mix of number of the agents plus real humans plus all that, right? I don't know. I mean, I think I always say like, hey, let's incrementally figure this out. The other thing is this kind of point of these agents don't work today, or they're like, I would say they work, but they are unreliable. So how do we make them more reliable? I think there's tool chain needs to be developed and a lot of good work happening. And I'm very optimistic in next 12 months we will have a pretty solid kind of this SDLC-like DevOps tool chain. I call it agent ops tool chain for these agents. That will make you these agents from unreliable to reliable through proper testing and monitoring and then feedback loop and then kind of reinforcement learning. Then I think it'll be a good spot because it's like 3 themes. Intelligence, agents, kind of reasoning engine, everything gets better. Now you have a tool change with the human feedback loop. That's like, okay, now reliability is coming and they are more deterministic. And then I think you just think about use cases. So that's I'm very optimistic, I think. We just need to figure it out what will be the right balance, how we will manage all of this multi-agents, and then how do we build the trust slowly. And so much money is being pumped on, we'll figure it out. I think
awesome. Well, Toku, shall we ask the audience if they have any questions?
If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand.
Right, great.
Hi there. So there's been a lot of conversation about the savings of AI. I'm going to get rid of a human and hire an AI agent, and it's going to save me a lot of money. Are there particular use cases where the AI is more valuable in your industries where you could actually charge more for it? An example, like in advertising, is like sentient analysis. You could hire 1,000 employees to try to do what AI can do in a matter of hours. And so that's something that is incredibly valuable. Like you can charge a premium for that a single agent couldn't do. So are there areas where you see AI actually being something people can charge a premium for?
Yeah, I can start. I think we have some very good examples. I'll pick 2 of them. So one is this customer service kind of use case. That's where we have service agent. And the best way to, I think, understand the ROI and also quantify easily is, if you think about a call center scenario, any kind of retail customer, and they're getting, let's say, thousands of calls. Some of them are getting million calls, let's say, the big ones. Every call end up costing you, on an average, $12. Okay, so if humans are picking up those phones, it's $12. And if you can have an AI agent, then you will have to maybe $1. What percentage of calls can be handled by agent? Maybe let's say 20%. But then I think the volume and the saving adds up quickly. And the hope is that these agents today is 20%. Can they go to 30? Can they go to 40? So that's where a lot of decision makers are. That's how they're looking at a little bit of a long term in a year or 2 year journey as this stack evolve from the. There's some areas where it's hard, I think challenging also. If I give a counterproductive example, like an SDR case and then others, which like very human touch, trust, and people don't make buying decisions just by talking to an agent. So, and I think you know a lot more in this space, and how do we kind of, so I think there will be some areas where software development is another one. If you can build out a lot of these softwares and prototypes quickly, you can't deny the ROI. I mean, it's there, it's working. I created a website, I can publish it. So now, otherwise, I would have to hire a consultant.
I think what you're mentioning there is kind of like the entrepreneurial excitement, perhaps, that this opportunity is presenting people. So let's say, in the context of what we're discussing tonight, you're a consultant and you're able to bring all kinds of new tooling and capabilities to your particular skill set. I think that would enable you to charge a higher rate, for example. So I think it's this ability, how much of this commoditized knowledge out there can you bring into your practice and use to bring value to customers? I think that is really the key. And if you can bring in more and more of that and create more value for that customer, I think people are still willing to pay for value. So I think there's a way to do it. You have to, I could see a tech lead today who is able to command all of the tools like Cursor and so forth, more so could be more valuable to me as a startup CEO than a tech lead who couldn't do that stuff.
So if I can add one comment, and you were asking about pricing. So I think there's a lot of experiments around outcomes-less output-based pricing. But then, if you think about, let's say, if you get a PhD level agent versus an intern level agent, the pricing cannot be same, right? So I mean, as you can see, OpenAI has a $20 subscription and a $200 subscription because you have competitor. And now some are thinking about maybe, okay, $100,000 for a year for an AI agent, but it has to be better freaking good, otherwise, So.
I'm getting my $200 a month out of the Pro. So.
Anybody else have any questions?
Hi, my name is Bhargava. Thank you so much for this talk. Just following up on the question that she has just asked, and maybe I think Manjit lightly touched on this. In your industries and the work you do, is there a role or like a skill set that you're seeing is making humans more valuable? I see that AI is like taking away from humans in some areas, but what are some areas where the human value is becoming more and more important?
It's the managerial function, I think. It's where old farts like me kind of get to smirk in the background going, oh yeah, I know how to do that, and tell the AI how to do that. And I think in the coding especially, I've been doing it myself recently, and I think if you can, as many product manager skills as you can bring to bear, and planning skills and other things like that is what really enables you to tame these things more, is my view. So I think I think in general, if you look at business as kind of like a stack, where you have at the very top of the stack are the stakeholders, and at the bottom of the stack are all the things that make the business work, we're seeing that stack being compressed. So there's going to be fewer and fewer operational elements, and everybody in the business is going to have to understand what's happening up here with the stakeholders more and more. So I think stakeholder empathy, managerial skills, and other things like that are the skills that are going to play now.
I actually have a point I want to add as well. Kind of as we've kind of talked with potential customers and even some of our customers right now, one of the areas that we've been kind of positioning is, especially in organizations that have Salesforce that don't have a massive IT group internally, they're often making poor architectural decisions because they don't have the right skill sets in-house to basically design and maintain their org. So, tools like Cloobot are able to provide those guardrails and know-how, enabling admins, enabling product owners who are wearing multiple hats to basically drive forward best practices without having, there's no budget to hire an additional person. So that was never going to be on the table. So this becomes an alternative to help bolster those IT teams as well.
Yeah. So just to quickly add, right, because another part of the question is, hey, do we need more generalists or do we need more specialists? Okay, and I think it's a good question when I heard about first time, and then I started kind of observing what's happening around me. And my observation is, if you are building an industry-specific solution, healthcare, deep, like the finance tech and those, so obviously, like you need more specialists who understand the nuances and compliance and governance, and then like CPQ. I know some of you work in that space. It's very complex, that workflow in itself. So you need that kind of, that doesn't come with you can't teach an agent kind of that. But then at the same time, what do you see in other areas like software development? As Vernon was saying, the role compression is happening. You're not looking for front-end developer, back-end developer. You're looking at a full-stack engineer. Okay, so then. So I think it's a mix and match. So you have to, I think, if you're particularly interested in one area, so for example, in sales, what I'm seeing in sales is you need more account executives. So we hired 1,000 account executives in Salesforce. At the same time, we are building agents. But the reason is to close those deals, like $1 million deal, you need that, that human touch. And then, so I don't know what kind of role you work in. So happy to chat and give my take. So it's all over, and it's a little bit confusing. I totally understand.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this.
Thank you. Go Warriors.
Go Warriors.